Sharma. I'm with WSI Corporate in Toronto, and once again, thank you for joining us for today's session. As I mentioned earlier, please reserve all your questions until the end of the session. However, if you'd like, please continue to post them throughout the session so that we can take them on a first-come, first-served basis. If you would like to receive a recording to today's webinar, please contact the WSI consultant who invited you to the session, and you're also welcome to download a complimentary white paper on Facebook strategies written by Baltej Gill, our expert today. Just a little bit, Baltej has spoken at various other events and webinars that we've held for medium to small size businesses and large corporations throughout the globe. And Baltej has been instrumental in helping WSI and its consultants define a social roadmap for how companies should be leveraging social media in their business. Today we are going to be focusing and taking a deep dive into Facebook. Facebook is one of the fastest growing social media sites, and Baltej will be talking a little bit more about in detail on how Facebook strategies for businesses can be leveraged by many of you who are on the call today. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Baltej Gill. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome. I know the warm welcome can be by the icons that you appear on your screens here. So Baltej, please take it away.
Hey, thank you, Archie, once again for the introduction. And before I begin my point, I just want to make sure that everybody could hear me loud and clear on their end. So if you could just go ahead and type in the chat dialogue there as well.
Yes, Baltej, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So, first of all, thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your business to join us on this webinar. Really what we want to focus this entire webinar on today is determining how most businesses out there could leverage Facebook. I'm sure people have heard of Facebook, or they might use it for a personal use, or they might not think, this is probably not for my target audience, so why do I need to listen to a Facebook webinar, or how could I really leverage it? So this webinar is going to be covering, whether you have a Facebook page or not, whether you have tried to leverage Facebook or not. We're going to make it very broad, but at the same time give you away some specific strategies and tips. Doesn't really matter which industry or vertical you're in, but we want to make sure that everybody takes away something from this webinar. Just looking at very high level about the agenda of what we want to cover today is, first of all, determining Facebook, is it right for you, and how do you figure that out? So how do you find out, is my target audience on Facebook, and how do I tap into that demographics? Facebook pages, we're going to talk specifically about how you could build a Facebook business page for your business. It's sort of like having a website, and we're going to tie those strategies in together. Some more specifics, if we really want to drill down into some of the functionality that Facebook offers businesses, such as Facebook events and leveraging Facebook videos. We'll show you some case studies and the benefits of those and how that could be applied to your organization. For those that actually joined us on our last webinar, we talked a little bit about Facebook advertising. So we are going to revisit that for the people that haven't heard that segment. But that is also an important aspect. And then finally, when you have all these different fundamentals of what Facebook has to offer, how do you really put it all together and make it work for you? So that's really the high level of scope of what we wish to discuss today. And before we begin, just going over, at the end of the day, if you have a website or if you have an online marketing presence, there's different ways you can start to drive targeted traffic back towards your website. There's paid search marketing, also known as PPC. This is pretty much where you're paying search engines such as Google to have your ad appeared on, the right-hand side, or sometimes even on top of the organic for keyword phrases relevant to your business. There's search engine optimization techniques. This is when somebody types in or keys in your keyword phrase of your product or service in different search engines. You appear organically on the left-hand side, and your website's listed there. And of course, there's email marketing. And not to forget, there's all this offline marketing that you could still leverage. But social media, over the last 2 years has really taken a great spin, and it's been a lot of the buzz, and it's what a lot of people have been talking about. But still, there's a vast amount of businesses out there that are still scratching their heads and figuring out, well, how do we monetize this? And most businesses, sometimes they feel that, look, we don't want to commit to something that we're unsure of. we'd rather take that investment or that budget and put it towards something we're more familiar with, like pay-per-click or SEO or some of the other aspects that you see here. So this presentation is going to show you why not just to do that or think that way and how that could actually hurt your business, because there are opportunities that you could potentially be missing out on. So how are people, just in very general again, how are people using social media today? This was a survey conducted. It's an international survey from small, medium, and large-sized businesses. Majority of people are still using social media to influence their brand. So they want, and we'll talk about how this could generally apply to any business, but that's the number one way how people are using social media. But what I really want to bring your attention towards is the next biggest group over here, the 38% that are using social media to actually improve their search engine rankings. So when we talk about, well, you know, is my business right for Facebook, and is there a way I could leverage it? You have to ask yourself, is being on page 1 of Google important for you? And if the answer is yes for your product or your service, then the next question becomes, could I utilize Facebook in any way to help me acquire that goal? And we'll go through some specific examples of how that looks like. So, you know, because there's so much buzz about it and we've been talking a lot about it, what's keeping everybody from doing this? The number one reason why people don't jump to social media or Facebook or any of these other networks is because of lack of knowledge. So again, thank you everybody for joining us on the webinar today, because you guys are taking the first steps to learning and educating yourselves and your staff on how, you know, specifically in this webinar, how Facebook could be monetized. Before we really dive into Facebook, you know, just keep in mind that there are other social portals or social networks out there. Just to name a few, you could say sort of the big three would be LinkedIn, Facebook, and MySpace. And of course, for I believe majority of the people here are from the UK market. You know, there's other social networks out there like Bebo and Orkut that are also being used as well. The main difference, if you really want to try to understand where do I need to be, because you have to look at your target audience. If my target audience is all hanging around something called MySpace, why am I trying to promote myself on Facebook or LinkedIn or vice versa? So it's really just to kind of clarify or differentiate the three social networks you're seeing on the screen here. You could think of LinkedIn as being more the professional B2B